I think there's a lot of surface discussions on religion, because obviously it's something that is part of everyone's identity and they feel very strongly about it. But I think like 90% of discussions on religion are pretty frivolous and one way, you know. And if you want to have a thorough, you know, deep investigation into it, once you accept that framework of religion, and let's say you're a full-on atheist, and you want to have a discussion on religion, you're already accepting the framework, which is why you're arguing, you know, okay, let's talk about your idea of God.
My name is and I'm from Edmonton, Alberta, right here. I was born here in 1989, Alexandra Hospital.
My name is Lorette Braden, and I'm a Métis person.
Okay, my name is Hadi. I'm a student at the University of Alberta.
I'm Arya. I was born in the US to Iranian parents. When I was about 5 or 6, we moved back to the old country, as it were.
My name is Christopher Giffen. I am 32 years old. I've worked at Riverbend United Church here for a year and a half almost, and I am the youth and family minister, or youth and families minister here.
My name is Joshua Meacham. I went to school at U of A for 2.5 years, doing economics and politics, some history and some math.
I'm Don Coots, and I'm one of the ministers here at Riverbend United Church.
Have you raised in a religious family?
Yes, I can say yes.
My parents are fairly progressive people, I guess, or they try to be. So they weren't, and they were non-practicing, so we didn't have a lot of intense conversations about religion, so I kind of got to figure it out for myself.
I was the youngest in my family, and by the time I was born, they weren't going to church on a regular basis at all. We weren't even the kind of family that attended church on Christmas and Easter. So we basically were without religion.
My parents are ministers of the United Church. My dad has always been in ministry. My mom has on and off been in team ministry with him sometimes. I came to it obviously that way. I mean, my family went to church every Sunday, to United Churches every Sunday.
When I was about 14 or 15 years old, I guess, I met a family, the fellow pastor at an Anglican church. He was an Anglican minister. And I met him through my best friend who went to that church, and so she convinced me to go to church with her, and I ended up going to the Anglican church. And I found that I liked it. I liked church, I liked the music, I liked the community, I liked Linda's friends, I liked being a part of all of that. And I loved Dave and Phyllis, the minister, and his family, and I actually for a while ended up living in their house. And so I did become a Christian when I was about 15 years old.
The most dominant force, especially earlier on in, you know, development of my ideas in that regard were just the environment that I was in, which is Iran, which is a Islamic republic, or had been at that point for about 10 years. I don't think anyone in that age really has the tools to be critically, examining what they're hearing. So I was no different, I was kind of going along with it.
You practice religion, right?
Yes, that's right.
And what religion do you practice?
It's Islam.
And you're Shia?
Yes. Well, because I have been raised, as you said, in a Muslim and in a Shia family. But for the first years, I was Muslim and Shia because my father or my mother was thinking that way and had raised me that way. But after a while, they didn't force me or make me to continue this way. I've been away from my family since I was admitted to a university. So I can say I've been far from my family for 8 years now, 8 or 9 years, yes. But I'm still the same.
I've been in a Christian school, in the Christian education system from grade 6 to grade 10, in which from then on I went to a private school for grade 11 and 12. And now for university, I've gone back into a Christian university, King's University. Despite all the history with Christianity, I didn't consider myself Christian. It was actually in the summer between grade 10 and grade 11 in which I kind of came to a realization that Christianity certainly wasn't for me, and that I didn't believe in God.
I have been part of this congregation for 4.5 years. I have been in ordained ministry for 26.5 years. I wasn't born in Edmonton. I was born in Eckville, a small community in central Alberta, but we moved here when I was about 1, and then I lived here until I went off to seminary when I was 27, and then served the church in other places for almost 20 years, well, 22 years, I guess, before I moved back.
When I was about 12 or 14, in that range, we moved to Canada. Obviously quite a change in pace and ideology and all of that. And right around that time, obviously, I was exposed to a lot of different ideologies. And I began to have fairly, strong opinions against religion in the beginning of my sort of rebellious teenage phase. And I was the guy in the internet forums getting into heated, debates on religion and whatnot. So I was a pretty, staunch atheist at that phase. But now that I look back, I think a lot of that was really projection that I was doing on having religion forced on me in that environment. So I had this, very strong dislike of religion that wasn't really rooted in, rational thought and examining what it was that I was believing in, but like a reaction to having to do something and having to believe something and having to accept something and not having a lot of other things which come from not the religion, but, a social framework that has religion built into it, but then is forced upon other people. It's a pretty textbook, totalitarian setup.
In all of my early years, and even when I was participating in the church community, there was something that wasn't right inside my soul, and we had never, because of the shame of being Métis people, my dad would never admit to being Métis, but I had seen a picture of my grandmother once, and I said, she's Indian, and my mom said, well, of course she is, you knew that, and hid the picture away again, and then we never talked about it. And so I had gone through like 35 years, which is probably going to be half of my life, in the wrong spot. And so I then went out to explore what actually was my culture, and from that day forward everything fit together, because I had been living the wrong life because I have an Indian soul.
Richard Dawkins, he's a philosopher and scientist, in which he proposes a model in his book, The God Delusion, and he places a spectrum of religious belief between a scale of 1 and 10. 1 being, I absolutely believe with 100% certainty and conviction that there is no God. And 10 being, I believe with 100% certainty and conviction that there is a God. Now, in between there, 5 being, you know, I could go either way, I'm quite agnostic, and 7 perhaps being, I believe in a God. I have doubts of my God, but you know, I believe in it, and I'll go ahead and continue those beliefs, and often that sort of sentiment is followed by, because I don't want to go to hell, or I want to get into heaven, you know, VIP pass. And for myself, I would consider I'd consider myself a 2, in the sense that I believe a 1, to say that with 100% certainty and conviction there is no God, would be to overstretch my own knowledge and overbear my own opinion. From where I stand with our limited knowledge, who can say? I mean, the universe is so vast, so great, that you know, nature is so intricate that how can we say that we fully comprehend our entire surroundings to be able to make that sort of judgment? However, sitting at a 2, I believe that there is no God, and I live my life accordingly, and I base no beliefs upon the notion that there is a God, and the concept of God really has very little to no impact upon my decision making and my beliefs.
I guess it's common for every religion or every ideology that after a while, or in some portions in time, there are some people in that specific religion or ideology that don't let that ideology to grow. They make it fixed. They force people to do what they want, and like, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Shia, but I don't. I may not be liking some Muslims practice or some Shias practice, because as I said, there are some people that make people.
So you have doubts about what you've told?
I guess everyone.
Yeah, I guess.
Everyone has to be suspicious about what he or she hears from others.
Because I've actually always questioned my faith, basically every day. So if I was asked if I believed something, or when I'm asked if I believe, I actually would be more likely to say, no, I don't believe. I have an experience of something, or I feel it's important to know something about the faith that I come from, and it informs my values. But I don't believe a whole lot of traditional Christian stuff. I don't believe Jesus was my savior. I don't believe that and the sort of salvation thing where Jesus died for my sins. I don't necessarily believe in the Trinity, it's an idea, but I think of it more as a kind of an idea than a necessary belief structure. So I guess that I'm always about questioning my faith, and I haven't had a moment where I've left the church necessarily, but for my own spiritual practice at this point, I practice yoga. I try to meditate. I'm interested in a contemplative spiritual practice, and my creativity is as much my spirituality as anything. Like being creative is very important.
Like, didn't really focus too much on it until I went to university, and that's when I started to question religion more, because you read more textbooks and documentaries and things that question religion and bring up a lot of good valid points. Like, and just recently I've become more religious because of, in regards to, like, from not believing in God to understanding that God is more just a definition rather than a person or anything. Like, definitely when you read more about different philosophies or religion, you kind of accept that it's not necessarily productive to be antagonistic towards religion, because it has done some good things in history, and a lot of societies have kind of grown because of religion. I mean, when you add in information today, it kind of makes some superstition and religion irrelevant, but with in general, believing in a God isn't necessarily a terrible thing, because definitely can be beneficial, because it's just organizing a society. And definitely think our environment plays a part in our journey. I mean, we're so connected with the things we eat, where we live, weather, night and day. We're so connected to nature that it's unfortunate that it's not a bigger part of our education and daily life, kind of respect it more.
Baby, while you're sleeping, I'm coaxing on. Wish I could protect you from what's coming on, but I can't. No one can. I envy you. You can say distracted. Bridge noises and tumble dry. Can't discern the stars from fireflies. That's okay. Time leaks out of everything that shines and doesn't shine.
Surveys are taken in Canada or the States or even in Europe, the vast majority of people say they have some belief in God. But do they go to church? Do they go to the mosque? Do they go to the synagogue? Not so much. So people say they're spiritual, but they're not religious. The differentiation for me is I think all human beings are spiritual. I mean, just by our fact of who we are. Whether we're religious or not, whether we practice one particular faith or not, varies.
As Christians go to church, they go to often reconnect with their own beliefs. They go to kind of instill a sense of confidence and, as I like to call it, a bit of a checkpoint, in the sense in which, as you've gone through from Monday to Saturday, you now go back to church on Sunday. Exactly. And you want to see what has changed from last Sunday, and from last Sunday you kind of recollect yourself, you recuperate, and by arriving at these checkpoints, one often keeps in check with their progression, spiritual progression, their mental progression, the progression of knowledge or whatnot. For myself, certainly. I mean, I think everybody has this in a sense. For me, music is one of my greatest sanctuaries, in which I love music, and when I listen to music, I certainly I certainly, what's the word? I certainly find myself in quite a tranquil place often, or it can be quite a self-examining place, quite a inquisitive mindset, and in a sense, I suppose that would be one of my, music can be my church, or reading can be my church, or when I go home, I often smoke, and when I sit down and I smoke and I reminisce or recollect or just think.
Oh yeah.
And by doing that, you keep your mind active.
I totally agree about music actually, because I love music too. And do you consider anything as a miracle around you, or because some people actually see like everything as miracle, or some people don't believe in miracles?
Well, that would depend on what you define as a miracle. I mean, miracle in the sense of, a supernatural action coming down from the heavens into, into our earthly world. No, I don't think so. I mean, the simple, if you want to say something that has a very, very, very small chance of ever happening, but does happen, you want to call that a miracle? Well, I mean, sure. I mean, of course, that sort of stuff can happen. But I wouldn't attribute it to some sort of supernatural intervention.
I think that what it is that the need for religion is something that's evolutionarily evolved in our existence when we developed sort of the advanced cognitive tools to have abstract thought, but not have the understanding of, the chaotic world around us. So just like we have a need or a tendency to, follow as opposed to lead and be attracted to strong leaders, we have this ability to, or rather we have this want to believe in something that will take care of the chaotic nature of the universe and will make us feel good in the end.
Well, I think that God, God is a way that that we try to understand how we are connected to one another, and how we have something. There's something outside of us that we are in relation to.
I just can say, like, sometimes the feeling is very strong. Sometimes I feel that I cannot even feel him. Like there are like I can say a spectrum of feelings. You cannot say when I think about God, I feel this thing, because there are different times when you sometimes really feel him strong and feel him near, and sometimes you cannot just feel it at all.
I wish that more people would come, because what we offer would be something that they would feel responds to a critical need, a spiritual need. We live in a very exciting time, I think, for faith communities. About every 500 years there seems to be a significant change, and the 21st century seems to be one of those significant changes. And so you have faith communities wrestling, and some are trying to hang on to the old, and others are trying to embrace the new that's not here yet. And we'll see what happens. But maybe in 100 years' time we'll look back and say, oh my, what a great period of time that was. It must have been so exciting. And yet it's very challenging, because especially in our congregation we have people in a broad spectrum, and sometimes it leads to very interesting conversations.
Even if we get up tomorrow and somebody figures out exactly, how our consciousness works, where the need for religion comes from, people's tendencies are still not going to change, because we have our emotional circuitry and we have our rational understanding of things. So even if I know a fact, I'm still going to have an emotion towards it,
As far as religion is concerned, it seems to be strengthening. Like in China, there's a lot more Christians, and Muslim countries, there's a lot more. I don't see that going away anytime soon.
I don't think religion is really going away, regardless of what facts we know of, until our, physiological, emotional circuitry changes.
I've had very powerful experiences singing with a number of people in like a circle song setting, and circle song is like a vocal improv thing that I have led in the past, but I've had experiences when singing with a group of people. There's no words, just kind of like vocal riffs that we're all singing together. It's kind of like making techno music just with your voices, and that's kind of maybe a good way to describe it. So there's a beat, and there's like maybe a melody and a counter melody and some kind of a rhythmic vocal thing going, and then we just sing, and eventually it kind of morphs and changes slightly, and someone brings in something else, someone drops out, a new part comes in, and it's this kind of changing, beautiful song that is sung by a number of people together. I've had experiences where I've just a few, where I've closed my eyes in that kind of a setting, and I've had an experience of being completely transported into the song. Like my physical body kind of becomes less, I become less aware of it, as though I'm sort of like lifting off in some kind of way, and I just become totally part of the music. Like I am the song. And so I think that's happened, and it's these short little zones. I've never held on to that for as long as I'd love to, but I also believe that might be the way that is. It's like brief connections with my sense of being one with the planet, with all people, with the cosmos and all that, with the universe. And so that's the way I've experienced that kind of total at-homeness and oneness and union with God. Oh, I said it, G-O-D.
So what that really says is consider every action as if you would have to live it a million times more, a million times and more. And if you don't like where you're at now, obviously you have to change something. And if you like where you're at now, maybe keep in rhythm.
When you think about death, what do you think you have to be accomplished before, or what do you think about after death?
Well, I don't believe anything needs to be accomplished before death. Whatever you choose to have, whatever goal you set out for yourself, would be a subjective notion, something that only pertains to your own self. And really, once you're done, it's done. And what you leave behind is hopefully something that you would hope to, hopefully something that you don't regret, or something that you feel fulfilled for. And nobody wants to be on their deathbed and thinking my life has been a waste.
One of the greatest people in my religion, can I tell his name?
Yeah.
Ali alayhi salam.
Yes.
The first man after the prophet. Actually, we Shia people think, and Well, he says that live as if you will die tomorrow, and live as you will live forever. So, like, there are some kind of like contradictory sentences, but like I guess what he wants to say is that think about this life, and also think about the life after death, because it's really hard to think that way, like as if you will die tomorrow. If you think you will die tomorrow, and you believe in an afterlife, living after death, living, then you will try to do as good as possible for the next life. But if you think as if you're going to live forever, then you will try to do as best as you can for the life here, for like getting money, progress in your career, anything. So the thing is that you have to consider both of them at the same time. I don't want to say that I'm doing it, but I guess in an ideal case, like I hope to be like that.
For me, definitely just try to do as much as you can while you're alive, because you're only going to be alive for so long.
I think we're here to do good, and I think we're here to learn all of those lessons and to show all of those qualities. And the medicine wheel, when they're putting up a teepee, they put up 13 poles. There's always 13 poles on a teepee, and each one of those poles represents the things that we're supposed to be striving for, like generosity and humility and kindness and gentleness and respect. And so all of those things that we're to learn and all of those attributes that we're to have are not a whole lot different than what the teachings of Christ in the Christian religion. And so I think that that's our job, and our job is to go out into the world and promote those things and to stand as an example, and particularly in the Native community, to stand as an example to other people and especially to our youth.
I believe we can find what our deeper sense of calling or purpose or is by, I think, just really paying attention to our lives, asking ourselves questions like how have I come here, like listening to our dreams, like being, as in our dreams that we have at night, maybe not getting too wrapped up in the dreams we have for the world, and more paying attention to like what our soul is saying. And so I think we each can do that, and then once we've done that, our passion will connect with the world's need in a very important way. And I think sometimes we focus on the world's need, and then we lose track of where our particular gifts and our particular place to help in the world, or to serve in the world, or to be in the world is. And so I think we get that mixed up sometimes. So I'm starting to think of it in the other way, and think, hey, it's not selfish to think about who I am and what my soul is saying to me and what it's longing for. And
don't really have a spiritual or religious attitude towards death, just as a fact. It's gonna happen. As far as family dying, I definitely try to make it to every funeral, just because, I mean, you got to be there for funerals. You got to be together with your family and kind of grieve with them.
That's the guy I was
Richard
trying to
Dawkins.
think of,
He pushes the boundaries and gets people upset with it.
Yeah, he's like their poster boy.
Well, he's not really doing a good job either, you know.
No,
Like
yeah.
he's just really popular, and then he goes on like, okay, so you have the chance to put on some solid philosophy here, and he's like, look how much bullshit religion is.
Yeah,
that was a shitty accent.
You can say distracted. Bridge noises and tumble dry. Can't discern the stars from fireflies. That's okay. Time